LSD is a psychedelic drug that operates by manipulating the serotonin cell signaling pathway. We are going to portray the normal process and the process interrupted by LSD's effect through a skit. Initially, serotonin is directly produced in the neuron. Proteins called VMAT2 work by transporting the serotonin molecules from the neuron into the vesicles normally, as shown here. This is where serotonin molecules reside until they are prompted to be released by the vesicles. It is then released into the synaptic cleft. When that happens, it binds to its receptor as normal, acting as a ligand, and releases a signal to the cell body of the postsynaptic neuron to carry out the rest of the cell's processes through its normal pathway. This is the activation stage. After it is activated, the receptors are cleared by the glial cells. Then, reuptake occurs. This is where serotonin is either reloaded into the vesicle or is broken down. Lastly, in the normal process, serotonin is generally broken down through ordinary metabolic processes. With LSD, however, the process changes dramatically. LSD interrupts the process by mimicking serotonin molecularly, as seen here. The LSD molecules have a similar nature to the serotonin molecules, and with a shared chemical structure, they are able to mimic the ligand and fit into the receptor snugly. Because LSD takes up that extra space by binding to the serotonin receptors, it blocks out normal serotonin and then causes the influx of serotonin into the synaptic cleft. However, a bigger issue arises when LSD is left in the brain. It is not broken down as naturally or as easily as serotonin is by metabolic processes. It ultimately becomes incapable of breaking down and is left in the serotonin receptors, giving that user that rush of constant serotonin and ecstasy. By binding to those receptors, it overstimulates the cell, and the user slowly becomes desensitized to its effects gradually, as the receptors break down. The user, gaining a higher tolerance for the drug, craves higher and more frequent doses, given that there are less active serotonin receptors. With the decreased cell signaling, there is less serotonin being passed into the body, which ultimately leads the user to use and crave more LSD to mimic that same rush of ecstasy.